All right, so today we have Tiffany Mills from Christ Church Anglican, and Tiffany is the Family Ministry Director. So she oversees a team of folks overseeing ministry from birth to college. So lots of important stuff happening that Tiffany gets to oversee at CCA. So excited to chat today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, could you tell me, Tiffany, a bit about like what called you into ministry and how did you find your role at CCA?
Awesome. Yeah, I have always been called to children. From the time I was very young, I knew that I wanted to be around children because they're just the best. And I always enjoyed my time with children. And so that led me to an education degree. I have an elementary education degree from the University of Kansas, Rock Chalk.
Awesome.
And after I finished my degree, I actually proceeded to have 4 kids of my own. So I spent a good season of my life just being a mom to those 4 kids, which was a really high calling for me. I really enjoyed my time with them. And about 7 years ago, we had just started attending Christ Church, and they were in need of a children's ministry director. And I had some experience in children's ministry, a lot of experience as a volunteer, and through Bible Study Fellowship, I was a trained children's leader for them, got a lot of children's ministry training with them. And so I took on the challenge here at Christ Church, and it's been such a blessing. It's a great community, and we really have a great ministry and wonderful families here.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with that. Also, slightly biased because I have a bunch of family in the KC area as well that are also KC alumni.
Oh, that's awesome! Yeah,
Jayhawks. But yeah, so that's interesting. The educational degree. How are some ways that that prepared you for kids ministry?
Oh, I think what's maybe underestimated in children's ministry is the need for curriculum, really great curriculum, and to be discerning about curriculum, to know what is a good high quality curriculum, especially for the context that you're serving in. And so I do a lot of reading and writing of curriculum, and we use several different curriculums. So I really feel like the education degree was very valuable in my analysis of what makes a curriculum great, both meeting the kids at their educational level and their developmental level, having all of that information so that you can really craft ministries that speak to them where they are.
Absolutely. And then that's an interesting note, especially with the curriculum, because curriculum, whether you're making your own or investing in curriculum, it is a big commitment in both time and finances. So, what are some key things you look for to make sure a curriculum is not only like aligned with your church, but also like, hey, it meets the child's developmental and educational needs?
Yeah, like I said, meeting a kid at their developmental level is really important to me. We use First Look for our preschool ministry, and man, I just think they have the market on really meeting kids at their developmental level, and really incorporating the principles of faith into really creative ways that kids can grasp it. Those repeating mantras every week, the little videos that they do, I just think that's so great. Yeah, and then for our elementary and middle school and beyond, we just really look for curriculums that are engaging for our kids, that are really solid biblically, that can teach the kids the foundational truths of the Bible, because the Bible is really central to children's ministry. So we want them reading their Bibles, we want them engaging in the Word of God, but we also want to really encourage them to take that faith development and take it out into the world and share the love of Christ wherever they go. So an application component in the elementary and beyond age groups is really important to us as well.
Absolutely. The application component is really important because it can be easier than we'd like to admit reading the Bible, which happened, a couple thousand years ago. And it's like, okay, how relevant is this when I've
Yeah.
got, my iPhone and, social media? What are some of the like application, like lessons and themes that you find the most useful?
Oh man, that's a really good question. I think one heartbeat of our ministry is finding ways for families to grow in faith together. And so
Mm.
equipping the families to have meaningful conversations um, around faith, around meaningful topics in their lives. We create a lot of times these little table tents, these little conversation starters where they can
Mm.
at home have a dinner table conversation, like read a passage of scripture together and have a table conversation, and then have a practical way to live out whatever the theme is. This fall, we did a small group study on the one another's of the Bible. So, love one another, serve one another, pray for one another. So, really getting the families to think creatively of a way that they could practice those one another's in their neighborhoods, in their communities, in their schools. Things like that are really important. And so I think having the parents take the lead and have the families creatively think together about how they can apply what they're learning about the ways and the words of Jesus is really, really important.
Absolutely, could not agree more there. And yeah, I love that idea, like the one another idea. So that is, some really good advice. And on the topic of like advice, ministry and kids, family ministry in particular, has changed a lot over the past couple of years. So, what are some of the big pieces of advice you'd want to share to someone just getting started in a ministry role?
Oh, wow. I think build your team, build your volunteer team. Uh, Really, you can't do ministry alone. And the more you try to do it alone, the more frustrated you're going to get. So, a lot of children's ministry is growing a great team around you of volunteers, of people who really care about kids, and investing deeply in that team and making it an awesome team to be on so that you're not doing ministry alone. Because I think we're really called to equip one another for the work of ministry. And just because I work at a church doesn't mean I'm the one who is doing all the ministry. Really, it takes
Mhm.
every single uh, person in the church to have a thriving children's ministry and family ministry, and everybody needs to be involved. So the more that you can cast that vision and the more that you can build teams around not just the people who are serving in the ministry, but people who are praying for the ministry, people who are financially supporting the ministry, it just takes everyone.
Absolutely. It really does take everyone. As I say, like it takes a village. And that is definitely true. And in particular, volunteers are super important. And recruiting volunteers is like a constant objective for a family ministry leader. So always love to ask people, what are some of the best ways that you use to recruit volunteers at Christ Church?
Man, volunteer recruitment is a big, big deal. It is a constant need in the ministry because there's people coming in, the ministry is growing, there's people, just moving on to new ministry areas. So it never is done. I think that's really a good mindset to keep in your mind. It's not like, okay,
Mm.
I'm done recruiting volunteers. So
Yeah.
one strategy that I use is I just make time on my schedule every week to do that contact work. I It's very, very practical, but I just get lists of people. I use our church database software, and the people who I do know, the people who I don't know, I just pray and ask the Spirit to reveal who might be a great fit for the ministry area. And I read through those lists and I just make phone calls or I send notes and get to know people, find out their area of interest. It's super relational. So I think that's the key is like knowing the people outside your ministry area, developing relationships. That means sometimes you may lead a small group with people who are not in your volunteer team, or just spending time on Sunday morning, getting outside of the children's wing so that you can get to know some people and cast some vision for your ministry. So it's never done, it's always ongoing, and it's always relational.
Absolutely. Consistency and relational, those are kind of the keys, I'd say. And yeah, love that advice. And so we are, super excited. We can help equip your team technology wise. So I'm curious, how is Playlister being utilized at Christ Church? Where is it having the biggest impact?
Well, I was really struggling with our technology component of our ministry, spending hours and hours of time uploading and downloading. And we're a multi-campus church. We have 2 congregations in 2 different cities. They're nearby, but they're not in the same location. And so I saw the advertisement at an Orange tour conference, and I was like, this is the answer. And it really was from day one. It's been like the answer to kind of our ministry needs. So, I mean, really everything I was looking for, the ability to do everything on my local computer, whether I'm working from home or a coffee shop, and then have it sent to the various locations. So we have our preschool area and our elementary area in our Mission campus, and our preschool area and our elementary in our Overland Park campus. And we can just build once, send it out, and it's so easy for the volunteers to use. It really has been a game changer. In the COVID season, when we went to meeting at home, I mean, Playlister really turned on a dime. They pivoted and allowed us to create those playlists and send them home so that our families could use them and still stay engaged. And I was super excited about that, because I felt like a lot of the parents who didn't serve in the ministry actually got to see the high quality videos and worship. And we created our own videos with our leaders, and we're able to upload them. And so the kids got to see our faces and the faces of their favorite small group leaders. And we were able to just flawlessly send it home. It took no learning time. It just was so just a blessing to our ministry, because we could pivot and send those videos at home. And now that we're back in person, we had a season where we were like at home and in person, and we could do both. And so it just really was a godsend, really, for our ministry to be able to use Playlister in all of those different ways. And we're not a huge church. We are multi-campus, but we're about 150 kids on a Sunday morning. So we're not like a mega church, but it just allows us to look really professional and have our technology really flawless, like someone who may have many more resources than we would have. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that feedback, Tiffany. We are super excited to be able to help, and especially through the pivoting times, because that's one thing we've all had to be very flexible in ministry recently, and we are happy we can take time off back into your schedule so you can focus on being relational, focus on building an equipping team and meeting kids where they are, the important stuff, and the reason you are called into ministry, not to download and upload stuff all day. So yeah, we are super happy to be able to help move your ministry forward. And before we hop off, I'm curious, what just other pieces of advice would you want to give to family ministry leaders out there?
I think in this season, don't get discouraged. It's such a weird season in ministry and just in the world right now. It's not unique to us at all. But I think continue to be relational, continue to invest in your families, even though we've had to spend a lot of the last couple of years distant, finding ways to really connect with the kids in ways that are a blessing to the families. One of my favorite things that I did over the COVID season was I sent a little video over text that had each of their names to the kids and families, just reminding them of God's love for them, reminding them that we loved them and that we miss them. And I think a lot of families right now just need to hear that someone out there is on their team and loving them and supporting them. And so the more that we can do that as family ministers for families, I think the better all of our families will be, because it's a really discouraging time in the world right now for families.
Absolutely. I love that idea of just personally talking to everyone, every family, and yeah, just being there and not giving up in yourself, not giving up in the mission. That's why we're called here, and it is awesome to share that. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for sharing so much. It's been great chatting, and excited for everything that is in store for Grace Church.
Thank you.
Absolutely.